Hello and welcome to a new video on my YouTube channel. First an Info to my German-speaking viewers. Dieses Video ist auch mit deutschsprachigem Kommentar verfügbar. Der Link zum deutschsprachigen Video findet ihr in der Videobeschreibung. This video is about the Ascher Racing McLaren Artura Ultimate Sim Racing Steering Wheel. Probably the most expected Formula-style sim racing steering wheel in the high-end range at the moment. In this video, you will see if the steering wheel can fulfill the high expectations and with which unique features the steering wheel can score points. First, I will show you the steering wheel in detail in this video. I will show you the various components installed and included in the package, talk about the materials and explain how the steering wheel feels. After that, I will summarize the steering wheel. And at the end of the video, I will do a test drive with the steering wheel in the form of my triple screen onboard videos in my motion simulator. The McLaren Artura Ultimate is a slightly modified version of the Ascher Racing McLaren Artura GT4 sim racing steering wheel. Apart from a few additions such as the additional dashboard, more buttons and rotary switches, funky switches, more functions and more pedals on the back, it is identical in construction. The housing, grips and finish are exactly the same. The Ascher Racing McLaren Artura GT4 is the steering wheel that is used in the original McLaren GT4 car in real motorsport. But the steering wheel is more than a replica of the original steering wheel. Apart from a few details such as the internal electronics so that the steering wheel can be used on the PC, the steering wheel is identical to the steering wheel used in the real racing car. That should be the first indication of the quality standards I will be talking about in this video. The package includes the steering wheel, two spiral cables, two USB extension cables, one USB-C to USB-C cable, one sticker kit, a set of different button caps, and of course tools and screws. Let's start with the materials and the technical data of the steering wheel. The steering wheel finally has a diameter desired by many sim racers, in other words, a width of 300 mm. The steering wheel weighs 1520 grams. The diameter is now adapted to the steering wheel diameter of current GT3, GT4 and Formula cars, which makes driving these cars not only more realistic but also easier. Because wheel diameters in this range are designed and optimized for cars with the driving physics of modern GT3, GT4 and Formula cars. The two grips have a maximum thickness of 39 mm at the thickest point. This is the thickness that the grip has towards the back. In the grip area of the thumb and index finger, it is about 29 mm in width and 37 mm in depth. Both grips are rubber grips and are very well made. The material feels a bit like a soft eraser. By using this material, the steering wheel can be driven without gloves, without any problems. The rubber-like material also gives the grips an extremely good grip. The material of the grips is also slightly flexible and ensures very good comfort. The grips are also very well shaped and fit perfectly in the hand. The grips from Ascher Racing are known for their grip, and I can also say that this steering wheel has the grippiest surface in the sim racing sector. You feel like you are glued to the grips with your hands or gloves. However, a small disadvantage of this material is that dust sticks to the grips. So if you have a lot of dust in the room, you should put the steering wheel in a bag when you don't use it. The housing of the steering wheel is made of CNC machined automotive aluminium and is anodized in black. The surface of the front has a brushed finish and is therefore also matte black. The rest of the housing is black and glossy, including the dashboard cover. The labeling and logos on the steering wheel are laser engraved in white. The aluminium housing is very well made and looks very good. Now we continue with the buttons, the rotary switches and the funky switch joysticks. The steering wheel has 14 push buttons. The button caps are all made of plastic and are changeable. Here we have a large selection of different button caps available, which you can change as often as you like. Compared to the previous steering wheels like the F64 and F26 from Ascher Racing, the button caps are now slightly flatter and with 13 mm diameter have an increased surface area. What is written on the matte black button caps is in this case carved with a straw and is translucent. This is because the buttons all have RGB lighting that can be controlled via the software. More on this later in the video when I show you the software. To change the button caps, the funky switch must first be removed. The tools for everything that can be done on the steering wheel are included in the scope of delivery, so you don't need your own tools. After that, the button guard of the respective side must be removed. Once you have chosen which button cap you would like to change, you can pull out the button cap using this special tool. Hook the tips of the tool into the notch and pull up upwards. Take care, do not scratch the button caps. Make really sure that the tool stays in the notch when you pull it up. The button caps were extremely tight on my steering wheel and I had to pull hard to get them out. The new button cap can now be installed. Make sure that you do not twist the button cap so that the logo is aligned horizontally. You should also make sure that you press the button cap straight in, so that nothing is crooked and the button cap is positioned correctly. Otherwise, you will have problems when you screw the button guard back on. As you can see, the button cap can be rotated as you like. There is no grid to which you have to adapt. Now, everything can be reassembled. The buttons have a very crisp resistance and push travel. You first have a resistance before the click of the button is reached. However, the first resistance is so short and the resistance so high that it feels like you only have the clicking resistance. This is a change from the previous Ascher Racing steering wheels of recent years. Previously, the resistance before the clicking resistance was somewhat longer and clearly noticeable. I like the new type of resistance a little better, even if both types are very satisfying. To summarize, the push buttons feel extremely good and crisp and provide a very good feedback. The slightly larger button caps are also a positive feature. The two button guard plates are both made of matte black plastic. I think the button guards are tight, but not too tight. I was able to get into all the button guards without any problems. Especially the button guard at the top center and the third from the bottom should not be any tighter for very wide thumbs. Otherwise, there wouldn't be enough space because these two stick out a little further. Now I continue with the four small rotary switches in the upper area of the steering wheel. All four rotary switches have 16 positions in which they engage. The rotary switches are each recognized on the PC with two signals. Turning upwards is one function and turning downwards is one function. Both rotary switches are infinitely rotatable. The resistance of the small rotary switches is very firm and the engagement points are very easy to feel. For me, these are the best rotary switches in this size that I've ever had. The rotary switches are easy to reach with a thumb and are also relatively quiet. Personally, I prefer the rotary switches to be a little louder, but the engagement points are so easy to feel that you can always tell how many clicks you have turned. The rotary switches also have a jagged surface, which makes them very easy to grip. The rotary knobs are made of anodized aluminium and have a smooth and shiny surface. The rotary switches look very good and are very well made. Now we come to the two large rotary switches in the lower section of the steering wheel. The two rotary switches have 12 positions in which they engage. Both rotary switches are infinitely rotatable. The way in which the rotary switches work can be set using the official Ascher Racing Control Center software. The resistance of the rotary switches is very, very tight, significantly higher than the resistance of the four small rotary switches. The engagement points are very easy to feel, and you can hear them very loudly and clearly, which I really like. The rotary switches are very comfortable to grip and easy to rotate. The rotary knobs are made of anodized aluminium and have a smooth and shiny surface. The rotary switches look very good and are very well made. Now to the range of functions of the rotary switches. The mode of these rotary switches can be set in the tab Rotary Switch Modes. Here you have 10 options on how the rotary switch should work. With permanent and pulsed, the rotary switch is a position rotary switch. When I turn it to the respective position, this position is activated. Position 1 therefore sends a different signal to the PC than position 2, so you have 12 different signals per rotary switch. The difference between the two functions is that pulse sends a single short signal, it's like pressing and releasing a button, and with permanent it is as if you would press a button continuously. The signal is therefore sent for as long as the rotary switch is in this position. The encoder function has two signals: turn clockwise and turn anti-clockwise, just like the small rotary switches in the upper area. The next 6 possible functions, BNT39, BNT410, ENC1, ENC2, ENC3, and ENC4 all work in the same way. If I set the left rotary switch to BNT410, the rotary switch affects the function of buttons 4 and 10, which are marked yellow in the picture. The rotary switch is currently in position 1, and I configure the brake balance with buttons 4 and 10. Now I turn the rotary switch to the second position and configure the traction control with the same two buttons. As you can see, the two buttons have a different number for each position of the rotary switch in the simulation. This allows us to configure exactly 24 functions with one rotary switch and the two buttons. With the official Ascher Racing dashboard for SimHub, you can even see which position is currently activated on the rotary switch. You can change the text in SimHub. You can now do the same with the 4 rotary switches in the upper area. First, select the respective rotary switch in the software and accept the configuration. And now use the small red rotary switch ENC2. Now the small red rotary switch has 24 functions instead of 2 functions before. Of course, all this can also be done simultaneously with both large rotary switches, so that for example the 2 red rotary switches work together and the 2 blue ones work together. The 10th option is the rotary encoder mode. To be able to use this, the second of the two large rotary switches must be set to encoder mode. Here, the left-hand rotary switch is again responsible for the mode, and the right-hand blue rotary switch is used to set the brake balance or traction control. Now we come to the funky switch joysticks. We have 7 functions here. The first function is the push function. Here, the joystick works like a push button. The push function is very tight, has only one point of resistance, has a short push travel, and makes a nice and audible clicking sound. The joystick can also be pushed to the left, up, right, and down. The resistance of the four-way function is tight and very easy to feel. The click sound is also very good to hear. The guidance of the four-way function in the respective direction is very good. With some joystick, it is difficult to press in a certain direction because the four-way function is not well guided. But you don't have to worry about that with this joystick. Just because you press the joystick a little bit crooked, you don't have to worry about pressing the joystick in the wrong direction. The guidance of the four-way function is very precise and straight. The joystick can also be used as a rotary switch. The rotary switch function has 13 positions in widget and gauges. The rotary switch function is recognized on the PC with 2 signals. Turning clockwise is one function and turning anti-clockwise is one function. The rotary switch function can be turned infinitely. The rotary switch function engages noticeably in each of the 30 positions. The resistance and the engagement of the individual positions is very tight. To summarize, the joystick is a very good and helpful function with which you can, for example, navigate in the menu, navigate in the pit menu during the race, or make settings in the iRacing black box. The joystick button is made of aluminium and is anodized blue. Although the joystick is very small, its shape and notches make it very easy to operate. The joystick can also be used to make adjustments to the steering wheel without the need for the Ascher Racing Control Center software. For example, you can set the bite point by pressing the right joystick for 1 second until the red LED lights up. You can then change the bite point in 0.1% increments using the right joystick, and in 1% increments using the left joystick. Then press the right joystick for 1 second to save the changes. You can also calibrate the clutch on the steering wheel without having to open any software. If you want to calibrate the left clutch, press the 2 right buttons on the left side of the steering wheel for 1 second until the LED lights up. Then press and release the clutch. When the LED flashes 3 times, the clutch is calibrated. You can then do the same on the right side. The third option is to adjust the clutch mode. You can use the clutches individually and use the clutches as master and slave clutch. To change this, press the two buttons on each side above the joystick for 1 second until the LEDs light up. Then press the button above the small rotary switch. Press 2 times to use the two clutches as master and slave clutch with the master clutch on the right side. Then press the two buttons above the joystick again for 1 second to confirm. Press 3 times so that the master clutch is on the left side. Press 1 time to use the clutches as two independent clutches over the entire clutch range. And press more than 3 times or not at all if you don't want to make any changes. To reset all settings on the steering wheel, press and hold the send up button at the top left when switching on the steering wheel. The dashboard and LEDs cannot be overlooked. It is the first steering wheel from Ascher Racing with an integrated dashboard and LEDs. The dashboard and the LEDs are the same that I have already presented as a standalone dashboard in a review video. In my review video, I show you the 5-inch Ascher Racing dashboard. Here on the steering wheel is the 4-inch version. You can find a link to the Ascher Racing dashboard video in the video description and in the review playlist on YouTube. The display is a 4-inch Vocore color display with a screen size of 86 to 53 mm and a resolution of 480 to 800 pixels. The display has a very good resolution, very good contrast and very nice colors. The display has 16-bit colors and a brightness of up to 350 lumens. What else is worth mentioning? The display is not anti-glare but has a reflective surface like TV screens. In my opinion, one advantage of a reflective display is that the colors are displayed more beautifully, even if the display is more sensitive to light. The dashboard has also 21 RGB LEDs, 3 on the left and right side and 15 in the center. A special feature of the RGB LEDs is the position of the light diodes. This is because a separate hole was made for each diode in which the diode sits. This prevents the colors from overlapping on the surrounding holes. This is a feature that I have not seen in any of the many dashboards that I have tested so far. With 16 million possible colors and a brightness that can be set extremely bright, even compared to other dashboards, the LEDs not only look great, but are also very individually adjustable. I find the use of additional RGB LEDs on the side of the dashboard very good, as you can configure a lot of information there. For example, flag signals, an almost empty fuel tank, or DRS indicator. You can configure the display, the RGB LEDs and the background RGB LED lighting of the buttons in the free SimHub software. Before I show you the possibilities in SimHub, I will show you how to change the number of the individual functions with the help of the free Ascher Racing software. Each function on the steering wheel has a specific number which is displayed in the simulation. You can change this in the Ascher Racing Control Center software under the tab button mapping according to your wishes. This would also allow a double assignment. If I have set DRS to my upper right pedal shifter with the number 26, then I can specify that the upper pedal shifter on the left side also activates the DRS by changing the number there from 24 to 26. Now it doesn't matter which of the two pedals I press to activate the DRS. To use the steering wheel in SimHub, you must first load the steering wheel. To do this, go to the Devices tab and click on Add New Device. There, you will find the steering wheel and can add it to your device list. In the steering wheel settings on the LCD side, we can make all the settings relating to the display. Brightness, contrast, frames per second, and also the dashboard layout can be set here. Here, for example, you can set up the official Ascher Racing dashboard, which also displays the position of the rotary switches. You can download more dashboard layouts from various sim racing sites, or you can create your own dashboard with a little practice. A very well known and often used dashboard is the dashboard from Lovely Dashboard, which is also the official partner of Ascher Racing. Both have worked closely together to ensure that the dashboard profile and the steering wheel work together perfectly. The link to the dashboard layout is in the video description. On the second side, called LEDs, we can configure the 21 LEDs and the backlighting of the buttons. For the buttons and LEDs, you can use the Ascher Racing profile you are currently seeing or create your own layouts. There is also an official collaboration with the Daniel Newman profiles for SimHub, which you can download for free and configure the lighting of the buttons and 21 RGB LEDs very easily. There's also a free online profile editor with which you can create and edit your own profiles. I have also a link to this in the video description. With the official Ascher Racing profile for the buttons, you can even get visual feedback when you press the button, as the backlight of the button flashes quickly a few times. You can of course also copy this effect to your other profiles. All profiles can of course also be edited and recreated. You can create flashing signals, you can set the button to start flashing when you activate the pit speed limiter, you can set flag signals and a spotter. And of course, you can also set flashing intervals, colors and much more. On the control side, you can also assign buttons to specific functions. For example, I always have a button configured on my steering wheel with which I can switch between the sides of the dashboards. The sticker kit can also impress with some useful stickers and has a large selection. The sticker kit has also very good quality and the stickers have a glossy surface. Now I continue with the back of the steering wheel. I will start there with the connection options. The steering wheel can be connected in two ways. The first option is to connect the steering wheel with the short USB-C to USB-C cable. With this variant, the steering wheel can be connected to a quick release system with an integrated USB-C connection system like the one from Ascher via the internal USB-C connection. In this case, the spiral cable is not required. It is sufficient if the steering wheel is connected to the quick release via the internal USB. You can get such a QR for the Ascher base starting at €119 in the Ascher Racing shop. The second variant with which you can connect the steering wheel to the PC, and probably the variant that the most people will use, is the classic USB spiral cable. Two spiral cables with a length of 1.75 meters are available. One cable serves as a spare cable. Thanks to the spiral shape for half the cable is significantly longer when stretched, as you can see. The package also includes two USB extensions with a length of 1.95 meters. These can be used to extend the spiral cable even further. The spiral cable has a USB-A connection on one side, which is connected to the PC. On the other side is a 4-pin connector and a matching socket on the back of the steering wheel. The connection is very stable because it is also screwed on. The connection cannot be connected incorrectly because of the notch, so that the pins do not get damaged. The cable has also an anti-kink protection that protects the cable from breaking in the first centimeters of the cable. In the manual of the steering wheel, you can also read that the steering wheel is optimized in terms of electronics and firmware for lower power consumption. The steering wheel should therefore work directly with the USB ports on the PC because it fulfills the USB 2.0 specifications of 500 mA and 5 volts. I have also discussed this with Ascher Racing and it has been tested by Ascher Racing. In my case, however, I have to say that this was not the case. not on a USB 2.0, a USB 3.0, or even a USB 3.1. I tested this on my recently purchased PC, which is equipped with the latest technology and the best hardware. Also on my second gaming PC and on my gaming laptop. And of course on all available USB ports. On none of the PCs, the steering wheel worked properly via the USB ports on the PC. So it has to be the steering wheel. Only when I connected the steering wheel to a USB hub with a powerful additional power supply did the steering wheel work for me. I have also discussed all this with Ascher Racing to find the reason for this, and no reason could be found. Ascher Racing could not reproduce the problem. Technically, it should have worked. I therefore operate my steering wheel with a USB hub with additional power supply and not directly via a USB hub on the PC. So just like my other steering wheels from other manufacturers with dashboard, LEDs and button backlight. Now on to the magnetic shifters. The Ultimate version has the double shifter variant installed, so you have two magnetic shifters on each side. The shifters feel extremely good, as you would expect from Ascher Racing. The shift travel is short and very tight. No other magnets are included in the scope of delivery as with the previous steering wheels from Ascher Racing. It is therefore not possible to change the resistance of the shifters with the scope of delivery. However, as with any magnetic shifter system, this can easily be retrofitted with neodymium magnets. Compared to the steering wheels of recent years from Ascher Racing, something has changed in the sound. The shifters always had a quite loud clicking sound when pressed, which I always liked very much. Because it bothered many sim racers, the sound of the shifter has now been dampened and is no longer that loud. However, the damping can also be removed if you prefer a louder shifter. The position of the shifters cannot be changed, but in my opinion, they are positioned in such a way that everyone should be able to use them. The large pedals are normally used for shifting gears and a small upper pedal for activating the DRS as in Formula 1. Now to the clutches. Both clutches are equipped with a contactless Hall sensor. The resistance of the clutches is generated by a spring, is tight and can be adjusted very well. The pedals of the clutches can be screwed on in two positions. This provides the option of adjusting the position slightly. The clutches can be used separately or in combination, as I showed you earlier when I talked about the settings that can be made directly on the steering wheel. But like the bite point, this can also be easily set in the Ascher Racing software. The clutch movement can also be set individually in the software. There, you also have various options for how you want to set the clutch movement. There are so many options and so many parameters that can be adjusted like I've never seen with any other clutch. Both clutches can also be set differently. If you don't have the Ultimate version, which I have, or the Pro version of the Ascher Racing McLaren Artura, but have the GT4 or Sport version, then you don't have a clutch or double shifter version. But the double shifter version and the clutch can also be reordered. This is because all steering wheels are modular. All you have to do is open the steering wheel and install and connect the respective module. I will show you how to open the steering wheel, because I also want to show you something else that requires the steering wheel to be open. Now, the steering wheel is open and you can see where the shifters and the clutches are screwed on and connected. Here, the shifter can simply be exchanged for other version, or a clutch can be added if the steering wheel does not have a clutch. There are 6 holes on the back of the housing to screw your steering wheel to a quick release. Here you have a bolt cycle diameter of 70 mm. 3 holes have an M5 thread and 3 holes have a through hole for M5 screws. The threads are used when the QR, as with my Q1R, has no thread or through holes. To screw the QR that already has a thread, you have to screw the QR through the 3 holes on the back of the steering wheel, for which you also have to open the steering wheel, because screws have to go through the holes from the inside, or a nut has to be placed inside. That's all there is to say about the steering wheel. Now we come to the final conclusion and the cost of the steering wheel. The Ascher Racing McLaren Artura Ultimate has a price of €1,499 including VAT. Shipping costs will then be added to this. For me, the Ultimate version from Ascher Racing is the most comprehensive steering wheel that I have been able to test across all brands. Everything about the steering wheel has been well planned and implemented. There are almost unlimited possibilities. You have more than enough buttons, which can also be configured with the backlight without limitations. You have almost unlimited rotary switches because of the correlation options of the large rotary switches. And in addition, 2 joysticks. No one will be short of input options here. With the 2 clutches and the double shifter variant on the back, you get the perfect Formula 1 feeling. The dashboard and the LEDs have a very good resolution and extremely good quality. Overall, it has to be said that the whole steering wheel has an incredible high quality. Visually, the steering wheel is very beautiful, only high quality materials have been used, and the steering wheel was manufactured with excellent workmanship. The only thing I didn't like was that the steering wheel didn't work via the USB ports on my PCs, even if it was supposed to work. I don't know why it didn't work, and Ascher Racing didn't know either. It doesn't matter to me as I always use a USB hub anyway, but some of you might want to connect it directly to the PC, so I cannot promise whether it will then work for you on the USB ports on your PC. I think the price of €1,500 is a great price, especially when I compare the steering wheel with other steering wheels in the same quality range with similar range of functions. Most other steering wheels cost even more or significantly more. I think the grips are very well designed and feel great in the hand. All functions on the steering wheel are also very easy to reach and the handling is very good. With this in mind, I would like to thank you for watching and show you one of my triple screen onboard videos out of my motion simulator. If you have any further questions, please write them in the comments. A link to the steering wheel is also in the video description. Enjoy the rest of the video and see you next time.
Green, green, green.